Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Thoughtful Thursdays with Vanessa. I am Vanessa Parra-Moreno, social media coach from Monterey County, and I help coaches, consultants, and service-based business owners new to video attract their ideal clients on their social media channels. Welcome. Today, I'm super excited because I am interviewing Raul Ceja, a branding expert from the South Bay area. Hi, Raul. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to our show. Raul, can you tell everyone in the audience a little bit about your background and your journey to becoming, a branding marketing expert?
Yeah, so a little bit about what I do is I am someone who spends a lot of time on social media these days, and a little bit of my background is related to how I grew up, I guess, and how that really connects with what I do today. So in school, I was never really academically inclined, and didn't really have much interest in terms of the stuff that I was supposed to learn in class. But one of the things that I quickly found myself being really interested in was in storytelling. It was hanging out at parties that my parents used to go to, and old folks talking about when they were in their prime or whatever the stories may be. I found that to be really interesting, and also observing how people interact with each other. So a little how that transitioned into what I'm doing now is that there was this little thing called MySpace that came around, and I found myself obsessively on there during high school.
That was me. I was the queen of MySpace.
Yeah, it was so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I really learned more than anything, I really learned how to write code, HTML, through MySpace. And I thought that was such an interesting way to do that. But then that slowly transitioned into Facebook, and Facebook was the new thing. And then now it's about it's about TikTok, Snapchat, it's about LinkedIn and Instagram. And so one of the things that carried over was this interest of online human behavior and how that's a little bit different from in real life. Oftentimes in high school, I saw that people interacted a certain way online, but then when you saw them in person, they weren't the same.
Yeah.
And so you say, that's a little bit weird. And then people started creating these personas online. And I thought my interest more on social media became more elevated in college, and then shortly after that. So I went to community college, then transferred to UC Riverside for my undergrad in business, and then returned back to community college for a certification in graphic design. And then somewhere along the way, I found my interest in love more than anything else for community, nostalgia, and culture. And so now I do just that.
So my next question, can you tell us maybe 3 misconceptions that you see a lot of new business owners doing out there related to branding that they can improve on? Like maybe on their website or social media,
Yeah,
whatever.
I think the three biggest misconceptions about branding in general is that it's easy, and that there's 5 quick steps to do for branding, and that's not true at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that branding is everything, and that more than anything else, that branding is social media, that branding is your website, it's your logo, it's the color palette, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
um, those I would say would be the biggest misconceptions that I see so far.
Okay. Can you give the business owners out there 3 tips on how to improve their branding, especially if they're on a tight budget? Because I know it could get a little expensive.
Yeah, and if I could go a little bit further with branding,
Yeah.
it's sometimes easier to define what branding is not. So branding is not a website, it's not a photo, it's not a logo, it's not a symbol, it's not anything like that. Branding, more than anything else, in its simplest form, it's a gut feeling about how you feel about a certain thing or object or product or whatever. So this is a good example. Like you could think of anything that comes to mind when it comes to the few words that I'm about to say, which is 1, Trump, 2, iPhone, 3, Whole Foods. So those 3 things spark a certain intuitive feeling about what you think about those items or those things. So I'm sorry, the question was what would be the biggest tips, right?
Yeah, some tips that I guess business owners can do to invest in their branding that maybe doesn't cost that much, especially if they're at the beginning stages of their entrepreneurship.
I would say that one of the biggest tips that there is out there is to get more familiar with what branding is. I think a lot of, especially business owners get into the spirit of sales and high revenue and producing that kind of operation side of business, but they forget about the end result, which is having this intuitive feeling about your product, about your service, about whatever it is that you're selling. And that is the hardest thing to accomplish. But it is the most beneficial because when times are rough, that your brand is what will help you push through those times. So, understanding that it's a long process and that grasping in general branding takes a long time, but more so implementing tactics that are for branding purposes to recall your product, service is extremely difficult. The average person that sees TV now, you have to see a commercial 27 times in order for you to say, oh, I think I saw that. Mm-hmm. In order for you to get there, and that is a huge win for any business. So I would say just educate yourself on what branding is, and more importantly, on what it's not, and allow a little bit of time for you to just consume all of that.
Yeah, perfect. And do you agree that right now, another form of branding is like personal branding through social media and just showing your authentic self and just using the different tools within different social media platforms like stories, live, pre-recorded videos, different stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now is the greatest time to be alive. I really think of personal brand and organizational or business brand as equals. Really, if you think of promoting yourself within an organization, or you aspire to have some sort of career, your brand should be working for you at all times. That doesn't mean that when you get fired or when you get on furlough or when there is unemployment is going up, that then you start working on your brand. You work on your brand when times are good, because in the end you want that to level you up a little bit more and making those connections. And right now, especially through LinkedIn, in terms of its organic algorithm, its organic reach, you can network with anyone and everyone. It's so beneficial right now. I would say more than anything, LinkedIn right now is performing more so than any other platform if you want to network in that way. Yeah. So I mean, I would suggest, like, how do I put it? Some of the other things that this the current situation that we're in right now has allowed for is this ability to build your brand on all platforms. So the most beneficial thing about the time right now is if you hate your 9-to-5 job in accounting or whatever, or if you're a cashier, but you're really passionate about, I don't know, Pokemon, like me, that you can transition your life to be a certain type of lifestyle that accentuates what you're passionate about, which is like Pokemon or whatever you want it to be, and that you can, instead of making 120K or even 70K, that you can live happily with 50 or 60K, and that's totally fine. But you can do that off of social media and switching gears and doing something that you really love and are passionate about, versus hating to go to that cashier job or hating to crunch numbers or whatever the case may be. That you can truly, you couldn't do this anytime in history. Like, you could do this today. Will it be here forever? I don't know. But it is evolving into something else very quickly. And we saw the epitome of that with TikTok. I mean, TikTok is crazy right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the greatest times to be alive, most definitely.
Perfect. So what would you say for business owners that do have the money to invest in either a coach or an agency to help them with their branding or marketing, if they should invest in it? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think that if you're a small business or an entrepreneur, regardless of if you have extra money set aside for an agency or a coach, that you should still be performing and communicating as a media company in 2020. That means that you should still habitually practice posting on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram for yourself, and knowing what that is like, and then allowing for you to take a step back and valuing someone that comes in as a coach or as an agency, and looking at your platform or your profiles through a different lens. And oftentimes we all don't get it right. I mean, I've been doing this for a little bit, but I don't even think I communicate correctly at all times. I think I'm very lucky at times if I get one post that I really like and that performs well, and I post 2 to 3 times a day, and it's just a good way to get a different perspective if you practice, if you are a practitioner yourself. It'll help you understand the value and the worth of what social media is, and also bringing someone on board and creating some of that stuff with you.
Yeah, I agree. And I also believe in consistency. So obviously, when you begin in anything, it doesn't matter what topic or software or whatever, you're not going to be an expert, and you're probably going to be really bad at it. But once you take the tools or the tips of either a course or a coach or an agency or whatever you find on YouTube, and you implement the strategies, and you show up consistently and do what you need to do to be everywhere on social media, I think that alone completely makes you stand out from the competition. And besides that, your ideal client is going to know about you, because if you're not online, if you're not letting people know about your services, people are not going to know about you. They're not going to know about what you can do for them, to help them with their business or their life or transformation. So that's why it's very important just to show up consistently, even if you don't feel like you're good at it, but just show up consistently. Eventually you will get better.
Yeah, if I could just add to that often we place value on likes and comments and shares, and I can tell you very honestly that those things are not the things that you should value at all, regardless whether it's for you or your business or your company that you're working for. What you should value is in the level of consistency that you do it, and then adjust all the time. Being able to adjust to how you communicate is often the most beneficial thing that you can do, for sure.
Okay. Well, Raul, that's pretty much it. Is there any other tips you would like to share with the audience before you leave? And also, if people want to connect with you or reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yeah, I think the thing that I would like to say is just if you are really into this, whether you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, or if you want to get into social media or what have you, or if you're studying marketing in school, which, I don't know, I have issues with studying marketing in school because school can only teach you so much. But I would encourage you to to be a practitioner at heart and start creating yourself and post and see what it's like to post 2 to 3 times a day, and you'll really get a gauge for what your voice is and the power within yourself that you can create change for whatever it is you're passionate in your life. Right now is, like I said, is the best time to be alive, because anyone can be their own media company. Anyone can go out and communicate their mission in life, whether it's about, Black Lives Matter, whether it's about racial injustices or equal rights, what have you. You have the power to create change. And I would just like to reemphasize the power in empathy and kindness. Other than that, I mean, you can follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. My name is Raul Ceja. I go by Raul Ceja Creative sometimes. So look me up wherever you can.
Okay. Well, thank you, Raul, for being here today. And I'm sure everyone enjoyed this interview. I will be posting his information in the caption. So make sure to look out for it and connect with Raul. Well, again, thanks everyone for joining me on another episode of Thoughtful Thursdays with Vanessa, and I'll see you next week. Bye.